Hi you guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Patience. To my existing subscribers, welcome back. If this is your first time here, be sure to click the subscribe button and that notification bell so you can continue to indulge in the Hot Bella experience. In today's video, I am going to be creating this gorgeous eye look and some parts of my complexion using the Danessa Myricks Groundwork palette. This is one of the newer releases from Danessa Myricks. This is what this palette looks like if you have not seen it already. It's a gorgeous palette, and it did create this gorgeous eye look and also some parts of my complexion today. So if you want to see all the details and also hear what my opinion is regarding this palette, then keep watching. My eyebrows have been prepped. I've done those already. I've also prepped my eyelids. I'm still using my P. Louise eyeshadow base, what I have left of it. You can use concealer for prepping your eyelid, but for me, I'm going to continue to use my P. Louise eyeshadow base until I have no more of it. I really like the way it helps to pronounce the shadows on my lid. It helps them to stand out a little bit more. I really like that. But before I go into this Groundworks palette from Danessa Myricks, this is what this palette looks like. You guys, I'm sure, are all very familiar with it. It does not have a shimmer shade in here, so I'm going to go to my default shade that I use for my brow bone highlight on most occasions, and that's just a normal highlighter. I'm using this from MAC. This is in the shade, what is this shade? This is called Beaming. You guys have seen me use this before. If you've been following my channel, you know that I do use this as a highlighter, or any of my normal highlighters I'll use as a brow bone highlight quite frequently, but I'm going to do this today. I'm just going to put this right up under my brow. It's very pretty. And then going to the Groundworks palette, I think the first shade that I'm going to use as my transition shade, I'm looking at this shade right here. This looks to be pretty typical for a transition shade, but I think I'm going to go a little bit darker. Maybe I'll go with this shade right here as a transition shade for this look. As you guys know, I have not used this palette on camera. I just kind of played around with it just a little bit. And, I wanted to give it a fair chance. So I wanted to take a look at it, just kind of touch it, feel it, before I actually got on camera with it. So today's the day. So we're doing it. So again, I'm going to go into this shade right here. I'm going into this pomade type of texture or formula of shadow first. And I'm going to try putting that on my lid as a transition, if you will. This is pretty dark, so it's almost like I'm contouring my lids out. So we'll see what this does. It's blending out nicely. I'm building it up to my desired level of intensity. It's really a pretty color brown. Very chocolatey, cocoa-ish type of shade. Your names on these shades. Yes, this is called Harvest. Yes, so this is Harvest. And since it is so much like a contouring shade, I'm making sure that I pull it all the way in to the inner part of my nose here. Right there at the bridge of the nose, so taking it all the way around. Okay, so right off the bat with the pomade, I will say that, and this is only my opinion, okay, it tugs. It's not, for me, it's not proving to be a really smooth type of glide on formula of shadow. It would remind me of a stiffer cream is what it's reminding me of. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's right, wrong, or indifferent, but that's just my opinion on what the texture of this shadow feels like. And I am having to build it up right? So it's not one swipe and done. I'm having to work it in. Now I'm going to go into this powder version here of Harvest. I'm using the same brush, and I'll put that on top. These pans are different in terms of the layout and size, as you can tell here. This little sliver of product here, you know, I don't know why the layout was actually done this way. I would think, you know, just give us a standard size pan so we can use whatever brush or brushes that we already have, you know, to apply the product. It doesn't require, or it would not require, a particular type of brush. You know, you could just use your regular shadow brush, whereas to get into this little bitty pan right here, you've got to have a relatively small brush. So my opinion, not a big fan of that, but it's a pretty color, and it looks like adding the powder on top of the pomade just deepened it up a little bit. It's really pretty. I like that. And I'm going to use this shade next. This shade is called Tourmaline. It's the darkest shade in this palette, as you can see. And I'm going to use this on my outer edges, my outer V of the eye, and just kind of start to sweep it into the crease. I'm not going to waste any time here on this. I'm just going to go ahead and start building out the depth for this look. So I'm keeping it really close here, just on the outer V. I don't want it to go too far. I switched to a different brush. This is a Sonia G brush. I think this may be a Blender Pro. What is this called? No, this is a Crease Pro. So I'm starting just to put a little definition into the look. Trying to keep it, again, pretty tight on the eye. I'm going back to this same brush. This is the brush that I have, that I used for my transition shade, just to make sure that I'm keeping this pretty neat. It doesn't start to spill over too much. So I've got two shades on my eyes so far. That's Harvest, which is the brown shade, and Tourmaline, which is the black or the darkest shade that I have down right now. So this is the pomade. Let's do the same thing over here on the other eye. I will say that this is a quite dominant black, this tourmaline color. It is quite dominant. I'm only having to like tap into it like so and then put it down, and it's giving me a pretty deep black. I like that. Going back to my original brush. It could just be my hand, but I'm going to go back into Harvest just a little bit just to make sure this black doesn't travel too much. Again, it could be my hand at this point, but it looks like it does. The pomade formula will spread, so I'm not saying that's good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying that it looks like it will definitely spread. So just want to make sure it doesn't get out of control. Okay. And I think for the lightest color that I want to put on my lid, I really want something that's going to be a good contrast, right? And I think what I'm going to do I want to use this one? That's really light. I think maybe I'll do a combination of this. This is called Mirage, and this is called Sandstone. So I'm going to try to work with both of those on the remaining space that I have here on my lid. I think I'm going to go back to this brush. This is another brush from Sonia G. This is from her Lotus collection. And what is this one? Is this I cannot read this. Where's my glasses? This is the Builder brush from the Lotus collection here from Sonia G. And I'm going to start again with the pomade just to give the shape that I want here. So I'm going to start building that up first. Here right up against the Tourmaline, which is the dark shade that I have on my lid right now. This formula is almost putty-like. It's very soft. Again, not saying that that's good, bad, or indifferent, but it moves around in this pan quite a bit. So I'm trying to be careful here with my brush to make sure that I don't scoop it out of the pan as I'm trying to get it on my brush. But it's a really pretty color. It's very complementary to the other shades that I currently have on my lid. I don't know if maybe this is one of those palettes where it works better or you get more benefit from it by using your fingers to apply the eyeshadows or the product, but I don't use my fingers. I prefer to use brushes, and for me, I am building this up. I have to build it up in order for it to give me what I'm hoping for. And that's with me just using the pomade first. So I'm going to flip this brush over and I'm going to use this powder version here and see what that does. Adding the powder on top, I mean, that powder just glides right over the pomade really easily. It's just the pomade that's stiff, in my opinion. So you kind of have to, for me, using this brush or using the brushes that I'm using, I'm having to work with it a little bit more. But it is quite pretty. I'm going to use my MAC 242 just to blend a little bit more and merge these two together. Okay, not bad. Not bad at all. Very pretty. So I've cleaned off my MAC 242. That was the brush that I just used just to blend the black in with the lighter color I have here on my lid right now. I think that was called Mirage. Yes. So I'm now going to go into Sandstone, which is this lighter shade. I'm going to put some of this on this 242. I'm going to angle this brush and I'm just going to try to plop it right in the corner. Okay. That's just with the pomade. Just adding a little brightness into the inner corner. And I'm going to go ahead and hit it with this powder. Adding that powder seems to brighten it up a little bit. Okay. All right. I think now I am going to go into this shade right here. This shade is called Core. And I am going to use that in the area where I've had to manipulate my natural crease line. You guys know how I do this. I haven't used this shade yet in this look, and I'm curious to know how it looks or what the hue looks like against the other shades that I have on my eye. So I think I'm going to bypass the pomade. Okay, and I'm just going to use the powder here for this. And I'm using a much smaller blending brush. You can see I'm getting a little bit of fallout right here from the pan. I'm gonna try this. I'm not sure if that bought me anything. Let me try going into the pomade first then. Does that make a difference? If I put the pomade down first. Am I using the wrong type brush here? Okay. I'm going to do the same thing to the other eye just because I want them to be the same, but I don't think, I'm not getting any color payoff from this, from adding the core on top of the other colors I already have on my lid. I'm going to add my liner and my lashes. I'm going to finish off my complexion, and then I'm going to come back so I can give you guys my thoughts and share with you my opinion on the Groundworks palette from Danessa Myricks. I've got the majority of my complexion finished up, you guys, but I remembered there were some claims that this Groundworks palette from Danessa Myricks can also be used to contour / bronze. So I've already did some contouring. So I'm going to go back into this palette now, and I'm going to try to use it to do a little bronzing. I think I'm going to do a little bronzing with a combination of Harvest and Bark. And then I'll use Core as a blush. So again, the challenge is going to be finding the right brush to fit into these little bitty tiny pans. I just, gently, wow. Okay, it doesn't take very much. And I don't know if it's because of this brush that I'm using, but I feel like I have very little control over how much of the product I'm actually getting on my brush. I'm also going to take the other end of this brush that has my foundation, the remainder of my foundation, or the foundation that I was using, just to kind of soften this up a little bit. Okay, for blush, I'm gonna have to try to find the right brush here because the pans are so tiny. I think I'm going to try to use, I know that's too big, oh my gosh, what brush could I use? It needs to be fluffy. I may have to use something like this. This is a brush that I would normally use for my eyeshadow, but I'm going ahead and using a combination of the pomade and the powder, and I think I'll just kind of put this right in this area maybe. No, that's not it. Challenge. This brush is a little bit bigger, but it's more dense. So I'm being careful not to drag it across my skin because I don't want to mess up my complexion products that I've already got underneath. Yeah, this is not the right brush either. Okay, frustrating. Let me try this one. This is one of my Sonia G brushes. This is a soft concealer brush. Let me try and see if this is going to give me what I'm looking for. Maybe. It kind of pulls the color back a little bit, but again, learning curve. I'm gonna have to soften that up a little bit because as much as I want to see the color, I don't want there to be like this distinction of blush, you know. I want it to kind of merge in together. All right, you guys, this look is done. And let's talk about it. First of all, I think that this is a very unique palette. I also think that this palette is, listen, there's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be a learning curve in regards to the textures and formulas that are in this palette. And there's also going to be a learning curve in regards to the brushes that are going to work best with this palette. I'm on the fence about that. And here's the reason why. I want to be able to use makeup products in the way that I want to use them, and I want it to be easy for me to use. I don't necessarily want to be required to use a specific type of brush in order to make it work. So, you know, with that said, I did find that to be a little bit of a challenge. The textures in this palette, they are very unique, very interesting. This pomade or this putty type of formula, it was interesting. It did take a little while for me to kind of get the hang of how to place it, and using the particular brush that I'm using, you know, how to get it to stick to my lids. You know, it took a little while for me to kind of get a hold of that. Using the powder on top of the pomade seemed to set it in place, if you will, or to give it more of a smooth type of finish, right? It no longer, like, you know, skipped across my skin or kind of pulled or tugged at my skin as I was trying to apply it onto my eye. Because when I first started using the pomade, like for example, as you guys saw when I was using the pomade here as my transition shade, right, I could actually feel the tug on my eye as I was trying to blend that out. Now, granted, the color is beautiful. I think this look turned out really, really gorgeous, but this is a little different. It's a little different. And I know that may not be the popular opinion, and I'm not saying that this is a bad palette. I'm just saying know what you're getting, right? If you are new to makeup, I wouldn't recommend this palette. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't, for all the reasons that I've mentioned just before, right? The formula, different. The tool that you can use to make it work for you is different. You know, so it's not necessarily for the novice, you know, or the beginner when it comes to makeup, in my opinion. If you are one who likes to experiment, if you are one who maybe even likes to use your fingers, or, you know, you're just more well versed when it comes to different type of eyeshadow formulas, then, you know, this would be no problem for you. Again, it's a gorgeous palette. I think that should you decide to purchase it, that you would be able to create some beautiful, gorgeous, neutral types of looks with it once you got the hang of how to use it. So, you know, I think that, you know, it's a good palette, but it does come with some learning curves. I used the shades in this palette also to do a little bronzing, and I attempted to use this shade here for blush. And, you know, I think, again, overall, the look turned out really pretty. Not necessarily the easiest look that I've ever done, but, you know, again, this is the Danessa Myricks Groundwork palette. I like the products that come from the Danessa Myricks camp. I think that they do a really good job at creating products in shades that are going to cross a broad spectrum of complexions. I think that they are very innovative in what they're doing. They're doing some cutting edge stuff, obviously, with this particular palette that shows that. But again, I've got some other products from Danessa Myricks that I'm going to be trying out here really soon. But I wanted to finally come to you guys to show you guys this palette, because I was really hesitant on recording with it, because I was not sure that the message that I would be bringing to you guys is going to be one that's going to be similar to what you've heard in the past, you know, saying, oh yeah, this is a great palette. Well, yeah, it is a great palette, but it's a great palette that has some learning curves, or it's, you know, you could encounter some challenges with it. So just know that going into it. But anyway, I do hope that you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys on my next video. Bye-bye.